मैं भी धीरे धीरे बच Hello everyone. So yes, I am audible. Yes. So today this is the fourth week for the course An Introduction to Cardiovascular Fluid Mechanics, and in this particular course, so far, sir started with the pulsatile flow, and afterwards what happened? This the content that was there for this particular week, which is the fourth week for the course An Introduction to Cardiovascular Fluid Mechanics. In that, uh, the the topic remaining part of the pulsatile flow, and then some solutions of the pulsatile flow using the Bessel's function, the basics of Vermicelli number, and then pulsatile flow and the turbulence, how these two are related, whether the pulsatile flow is the turbulent flow, or whether this uh, let me just see if somebody can know. So let's present it. I think, yes, there. So, whether the pulsatile flow is turbulent flow or not, on that also we will be solving some questions. And in the last lecture, sir has basically explained about this uh, Wilson model, where this laminar flow in the steady flexible tube and pulsatile flow of the inviscid fluid in a flexible tube, where the pulse speed has been related to the flexibility of the tube. So in that line, this particular week started with the solution that we have already derived in the last lecture, which was this pulsatile flow beginning, where this velocity profile is brought as the function of Vermicelli number and this diameter of the tube, which is obviously this where the pressure gradient and the velocity has been assumed to be the function of time, and that has been related using the Bessel's solution, right? So we will be going through each and everything. So I hope you guys have joined and people are there. Yes. So let's wait in meanwhile if some everybody joins, right? So let's wait, and I will be these videos anyway. These will be recorded, so you no need to actually worry about that if something you left or something is missing. So let me first tell you how you can access the course content. That is the more important thing. Uh, so if you see this here, so the thing is, the course An Introduction to Cardiovascular Fluid Mechanics here. This is 4 week course, and we are at the fourth week. So these are these sessions. These are live problem solving sessions, and here we basically discuss some questions, some quizzes, and some concepts through the numerical problems and quizzes, so that the entire content of the week becomes easy for you, and it helps you in solving the assignments of the particular week. So in this particular week, whatever assignment you have received, you see the assignments over here. So, and here if you see these problems, on these problems we will be having small questions, right? And we will be clarifying the same through the numericals, and some of the discussions we will be making. So the basic objective of this particular lecture is to make you be more comfortable with whatever content sir has taught in this particular week, and at the same time you easily solve these assignments that will be anyway evaluated at the end of this particular week, and some concepts that will be helping you in order to solve the final exams. So like here you see this, the problem 17, which says this: in the pulse wave velocity analysis, to derive Moin-Quetelet equation, which of the following is not valid? So these has been taught in the class. Direct problems are coming up And the decomposition of periodic function into the constituent harmonic can be done by, you see. So so if you actually see the basics of Bessel function, some basics, some graphical problems also today I will be discussing with you. That will be anyway helping you in terms how these will be calculated, how the thickness of the transient boundary layer will be detected. We will be discussing again. So this will be the recap of everything that has been taught for the week from the instructor side, as well as uh, at the same time we will be actually looking at some more fascinating analysis of the the content that has been taught for the week. Okay, so if you see this, in next few slides we will be actually having some basic questions on systole and diastole. So like systole and diastole, if you see what is that, what does that mean, and if you remember the systolic and diastolic, these things sir has already explained you in the first introduction to cardiovascular fluid mechanics, first introductory slides. So if you see that there was this systemic circulation, and and there is this another one is pulmonary circulation. In systemic circulation, you remember that this supplies the blood to all the tissues except the lung, right? And another pulmonary is blood to the lung. So here the lung, to the lung, everything is happening. And everywhere is a systemic is for everything except lung, right? Also this is also known as peripheral circulation or the greater circulation, and this happens in the left heart, pumps blood. Here the left heart, right? Left heart is, there is two compartments of the heart, so left heart is actually pumping the blood in this case, right? And the right heart pumps for the pulmonary case, right? And you if you see this, there is this deoxygenated and oxygenated setups, which actually plays a crucial role. And overall, as we remember this here, the fluid dynamics, heat transfer and mass transfer, everything is happening. Mass transfer in terms of transfer of the nutrients and the gases, and also heat transfer is in terms of maintaining the body temperature, and fluid is the blood that actually moves in surrounding fluid, right? So if you see this, let's see the one that we were discussing is this, right? So the first question that is there will be based on the same. So entire course, if you see, this is revolved around this cardiovascular system, because the course itself named the cardiovascular fluid mechanics, right? And then this, in the cardiovascular fluid mechanics, if you see this uh, this cardiovascular, the deformability of the wall, the elasticity associated with the wall of the blood vessel was the key, which has not been dealt with in the classical or regular fluid mechanics course. So there you always solve the velocity and the pressure profiles and transient solutions, whatever you have solved, that was actually had the basic assumption of rigidity of the wall. There the flexibility of the wall and this elasticity associated with the wall, or the speed, wave speed, change in the diameter of the wall has not been actually looked at, and the how the normal forces, how the shape change of the wall, how the deformability of the wall actually leads to some changes in the flow morphology. That was the one case that hasn't been dealt. Okay, so here if you see this, this entire course is started with the basic of cardiovascular system, and then you had some basics of fluid mechanics and some basics of solid mechanics, because here there is the coupling of the fluid mechanics and the solid mechanics together. So there is this fluid structure interaction. Because of that, the structure is actually deforming because of its inherent elasticity associated, which has been evaluated in terms of various solid mechanical parameters, for example this moduli and everything, right? So so coming to the main point, if you see this, uh, the main thing that started in the lecture 10, so this week, if you see this pulsatile flow, and in the pulsatile flow you started that this pressure gradient, which is the function of time, right? So in this is the and also it is periodic. That has been assumed, but in the real system, in our heart, this is more chaotic. But in order to have some insights out, the knowledge of this, assuming this pressure gradient to be function of temperature, and this, because of that, if the pressure is gradient, this function of temperature, then velocity will also be the function of temperature, and accordingly there will be some morphological changes in the pressure. There is this high blood pressure, low blood pressure scenarios being created within the blood vessels, and that their knowledge and their hematodynamics, dynamical knowledge is very important in order to actually fix or actually predict some conditions, some particular conditions, right? So let me just join. Yes, Sri. Okay, right. So, so what I am saying is this. This particular week was actually this started with the pulsatile flow, whatever the remaining part was there, and then some solutions that I was talking about is this in case of, let me just open that. Can you confirm if somebody is there? My slides are visible. You can just type within, or let me just see. Yes, so ma'am, can you please confirm my slides are visible? Sri Latha ma'am, right? So, okay. Okay, thank you ma'am, thank you. So, so if you see this, let me just clear it. Okay, yes. So if you see, uh, the second lecture of this particular week was actually the Bessel's function. This now the you started, you build your basics on this basics of cardiovascular system, and then you moved for the solid mechanics part, and then this fluid mechanics part, and then in different weeks, especially the second week and third week, you started building your basics, how you are actually relating the elasticity associated with the wall and this pulsatility of the flow, right? So here in this particular second week, where this Bessel's function has been utilized, whatever solutions came out of this pulsatile flow, that that was in the form of Bessel function, very standard numerical scheme for solving the differential equations, and we got to know that there is this pressure as a function of time, and this velocity is as a function of time, and exact dependence under some limit. Obviously there was this depending on the Wormsley number, right? If the Wormsley number is low, the viscous effects are very high, and if the Wormsley number is high, the inertial effects are high, and obviously the viscous effects are low. And on the Wormsley number also we will be solving some question, and we solve this. And in the second week there was some discussion on the pulsatile flow and the turbulence, and in the last week, if you see this, there is this laminar flow in the steady flexible tube, and pulsatile flow of an inviscid flow has been dealt deeply, right? So starting with the basic things, so we will be solving some question on this systole and diastole. So before that, before going into the same, I will be just prompting this, and I will be giving 30 seconds. You solve the question, put your answer in the comment, and then we will be discussing, right? So the first question is, what happens during systole? So the options are, the heart relaxes and fills with the blood, the ventricles contract and pump blood out, the atria contracts and blood moves to the lungs, and the last is, blood flows from vein to the heart. So this is the basic one, but in the last lecture, if you remember, where this Wilkinson's model has been dealt with, that is the zero order model, and that actually assumes the stack up capillary to be with the average properties, right? There, if you see, there it has been actually used in two limits, the systole and diastole. And for systole and diastole, into under two limit, we have solved the the velocity profile and the pressure profile, right? So if you see flow in the elastic tube section, there also this discussion was there. And then the last one, the one Wilkinson model, right? So solve this. What happens during the systole? So we will be solving very 25 to 30 questions. So which and also the another question is there. So if I can see, ma'am has solved, I think. So B option ma'am is saying, right? So the B option is the ventricle contracts and pumps blood out, right? If you see this in the systole, this is the contraction phase of the heart, right? The ventricle contracts, right, and pushing the blood out into the arteries, the aorta and the pulmonary arteries, right? This results in the high blood pressure known as systolic. So your answer is correct, ma'am. So option B is correct, right? Please solve second question, ma'am. Option B is correct, right? Which phase of the cardiac cycle has the highest blood pressure? So A is systole, B is diastole, C is blood have equal pressures, and D is none of the above. So let me just see. So C is the correct answer, ma'am is saying. So both have the equal pressure. So if you see, ma'am, let me just come to the answer slide here. Ventricle contracts, pushing the blood out into the arteries, right? And this results in the high blood pressure, which is known as the systolic pressure, right? And in diastole, this is the relaxation phase of the heart. We are actually relaxed. The ventricle relaxes and fills with the blood from the arteria. This results in the lower blood pressure known as diastolic pressure. In short, systole is contraction where this pumping blood out, while diastole is relaxation where this filling with this blood, right? So if you see this here, the high blood pressure cycle actually happens in systole. So the answer for the same should be C option, what I see. To A option, second is A, right? So second is A option. So A option is correct answer. Option A is yes. These slides will be shared, and also the video is being recorded. So this will be there on the same SWAYAM portal in the problem solving sessions. So the next question is this. During diastole, the heart is contracting, relaxing, pumping blood to the body, increasing pressure in the arteries. So during the diastole, which was the another cycle, and here we know that there will be this low pressure, and this relaxation period will be happening, what I expect. So if you attempted, I see. So yes, A option is correct. Let me saying, let me see. A is contracting in the diastole, right? In here during diastole, the heart is what? Heart is contracting, relaxing, right? So if you see, the answer to this is B, which is relaxing, and we will be actually looking at this. Diastole is, this is the relaxation phase of the blood, and here also diastole equals to relaxation. Just remember this one. If you actually getting trouble in this, just remember this one. These two. So I will be just putting it. So if I can color it, if right, this one die for the diastole and this is for the systole, so you would be not forgetting it. So answer to this will be relaxing. Option B is correct. So we for now we are solving some theoretical problems. Soon we will be going for numerical problems also. So option B is correct one, right? Option B is correct, right? And the next question is which term is associated with the filling of the heart chamber, right? So the option A is systole, option B is uh, diastole, option C is both, and option D is none. So you have to just see here. I am saying this filling of the heart chamber. So accordingly, you have to see and you have to think about the contraction and the relaxation. So which term is associated with the filling of the heart chamber, right? So systole, diastole, both, none. So if you attempted, ma'am, let me see. Just attempt, even it is right or wrong. B, it's B you are saying. Let me see, diastole you are saying, right? Yes, filling up the blood, it's diastole. So it's fourth B is correct answer. So fourth B is correct answer. Option B is correct answer. And the next problem, let me just, oh okay, so you just see this problem. Actually the problem answer is also there. So systolic pressure is measured when the heart is relaxed, the heart is contracted, the atria are filling, D is the blood enters the vein. So even the answer is there. You just think about based on the concept that we just learned. The systolic pressure is measured. This is the higher pressure one. So if I say if I say this was the contraction that we were talking about, and in the contraction if I say this is the high pressure situation and this is the low pressure situation, right? And based on that, if you see this, systolic pressure is measured when heart is relaxed, heart is contracting, the artery are filling, the blood enters the vein. So if you see the first answer that you said, so this is the contraction phase of the heart. So heart is what? Heart is contracting. Heart is contracting, right? So option B is correct answer. So option B is. So these are some other some questions based on true false, based on the same concept. So out of this particular concept, we solve around 5 to 6 questions. If you see, these are some very easy questions. You just look at these, like systole occurs when the heart muscles relax. This is false or true. So if you saw that it is for contraction, diastolic pressure is the lower than the systolic pressure. This is true. We have already written systolic is the higher pressure and diastolic is the lower pressure. So this is correct one, right? This is true. This we saw, right? And during the systole, in this problem, if you are having problem in any of the question, you just point out. So this is Q2, 5 questions, right? We just see if is there any comments. So no. So this one is last week of this particular course. After that, maybe there will be this one lecture that will be extra lecture where I have been instructed to actually review all the assignments, right? Review all the questions. So the questions like whatever questions in all the problem solving sessions, first, second, third, fourth, I will be actually revisiting those questions very fast within the span of 2 hours. And obviously in that case, if somebody is having some doubts regarding this examination that will be happening soon for the certification and also the assignments and the evaluation, those things we will be actually addressing those doubts also. So third question is, during systole the ventricle pump blood into the arteries. uh, is it right? So ventricle pump blood into the arteries when during systole. So if you see in this one also, we have already discussed this. This contraction phase hurt the ventricle contract, pushing the pump where out into the arteries, right? So into the arteries it is going. So this one is true. And the next one is, diastole is the phase when the heart is filled with blood, right? Heart fills with the blood. So this is the filling phase, filling with the blood. So this one is also correct. And then we have already written the answers. And then the blood pressure is the same during systole and the diastole. Is it right? So if you see, so that was there. So this is not true, as we saw that in the systole there is this high blood pressure situation, and this in the diastole there is this lower blood pressure situation, right? So so what I'm saying is, in the last lecture you have seen this vz, uh, which is this I by rho omega del p cap by del z. So this came out of this pulsatile flow, and there this temporal and the spatial variation of this pressure has been and velocity has been considered, and based on that, based on Mercalli number, higher, lower, or intermediate, there was the solutions coming up, right? So any questions, ma'am? If you are having, we can discuss it one to one, or else any doubt, anything related, any, like as these are everything online, so this is the only one way to interact with. And now there are some problem, I will be actually, there are some numerical problems also we will be solving, some basic equation based questions that was there in the course content for the week. Some basic conceptual questions we have also, I have also took. So so what you know about this wind Kesson model, right? uh, why this model came up, what was the basic motivation to have that model, and how that model progressed with the time, right? In the class, I think this, we, in regards to the Van Kessel model, if you see this, there was this uh, uh, two effects has been already considered, but now there is some added, this, I think last one, where this impedance has been added in the Wind-Kessel model, that was also considered, right? So the Wind-Kessel model, if you remember, is a simplified representation of arterial circulation, right? Used to describe how the cardiovascular system regulates blood pressure and flow, right? And it is particularly useful in understanding the relationship between diastole, systole, and this vascular resistance. So diastole, systole, and there will be this vascular resistance which is coming up because of the vascular system. And this model, this is the, anyway, this is very easy model, this is not complicated at all, and this model is zero order model. So there is just a box inside, something going and something coming, based on that whatever. So here this, all the capillaries, if I say now, if you remember, suppose these are the real scenario, these are capillaries are like that, these are capillaries are connected like that, and these capillaries are actually very complex, right? So what this model does, whatever average effect of this particular section of the capillary is there, right? What it considers a flexible tube of that particular flexible tube having the same average properties. Whatever effect these capillaries together will have, here the consideration happened for this particular thing, right? The model treats large arteries as a com compellent reservoir, which is this Windkessel model. Windkessel means this air chamber in German, right? That stores and releases blood to maintain continuous flow, right? Even when this heart is in diastole condition, it explains the dampening effect of the arteries or the pulsatile flow. So we know that this delta P, this pressure gradient, which is gradient of P, is function of time, right? For our heart. So this gradient of P, which is the function of time, is considered, and based on that, this model actually predicts. So some more thing about this model is this type of Windkessel model. So in this our work, we have considered mainly in depth two element Windkessel model, where this which consists of this arterial compliance and another one is peripheral resistance. So here this compliance, what it does, I think there is some question, wait, or somebody came. Let me just see if it was, yes. So Biki came, right? So this arterial compliance, what is that? You see this represents the elasticity of the arteries, right? Which helps store blood during the systole. So you understand, in during the systole there is this contraction of the heart, and then the movement of the blood to different arteries, right? And this the peripheral resistance is what? Here this represents the resistance of the blood vessels which controls flow, right? So so there is another, this was the two element Windkessel model. There is this three, there is this four. So I will be just briefing it, and on this we are having some questions, right? So the three element Windkessel model, what does it? It adds an additional characteristic resistance which is R naught to account for the proximal resistance before blood enters into the arteries, right? So it is rather more accurate in modeling arteries pressure and the flow dynamics. And the four element Windkessel model is what? It includes this inertial, this inertance, right? And then this is represented by L to account for the inertia of the moving blood, right? It provides the more physiological representation but is more complex. So the application of Windkessel model is that it is used in the blood pressure analysis and understanding the cardiovascular dynamics. It helps in designing arterial circulatory system, which is this heart lung mechanics machines, and also assist in interpreting arteries, pulse, waveforms in clinical diagnostics. So if you see that this this thing, the question on that is, what does this Windkessel model primarily represent? So the options are, let me just put it a bit big. So the first question, which is here, if you remember, let me just write. So let me just keep it in next slide. Okay. So this question is this: what does this Windkessel model primarily represent? So the option is the elasticity of the veins, the resistance and the compliance of arteries, the function of heart valves, and the contraction of heart muscles, right? So what does this Windkessel model primarily represent? If you think, the elasticity of the veins, the resistance and the compliance of arteries, the function of heart valves, and the contraction of the heart muscles. So if you have attempted, further I will ask. Okay, thank you. So B option you are saying, right? So let me just see. See this is lagging a bit. Yes, it is not lagging, right? So this the elasticity of the vein. You are saying this B, right? If I can keep both the screen together. So B is the resistance and the compliance of the arteries. So this is correct answer. The resistance and the compliance of the artery, the same we have just discussed about. Here the compliance of the arterial compliance, which actually represents this elasticity of the arteries, which helps to store the blood during the diastole or systole. And also this you see, this is based on the compliance, right? So the model treats, this was the important thing, large arteries as a compliance reservoir, and the word wind castle itself means that it is the air chamber that stores and releases blood to maintain the continuous flow. So this was the main thing. And if I show you in this particular lecture where the sir has actually discussed the same, is the way this word came up into the picture. Let me just put that. So let me just page up. This was they where he actually considered the chambers, and the way this came into the picture, that how it is actually treated. So this one is this 12th, right? This was the 12th lecture, and this one is this wave 1. The last lecture, what I think it is not added here. So I will be just dictating that a bit. Okay, so there this chamber like thing has been analyzed, right? If you remember, the he has considered this chamber. There is this flow happening, and then there is this kind of resistance also. So this, let me just draw that. So it was like that, and then there. So here the arterial resistance he has considered this side. Okay, and there was this pressure, air, and this blood. So 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 a chamber is being considered. So if you see here, the thing is this, uh, that it in this one, this entire air chamber. So air chamber has been considered, and based on that, this compliance have been calculated to get the model. So this one is the zero order model, right? So if you see in this one, this B option is correct, which is this resistance and compliance arteries. The next question you solve: what is the following is, which of the following is not a component of the two element wind castle model? Arterial compliance C, peripheral compliance R, and this inertance L. None of these. So 730 C is correct answer, right? So if you see C, yes, inertant is not. So this was in 3 or 4. This was in which model? 3 element model or 4 element model, right? This was in which model? I just told just few slides back. In 4 element model, right? Let's see. So it was in 4 element model, yes. Okay, so now let's try this one. The three element Windkessel model includes an additional component compared to the two element model. What is it? So characteristic resistance are heart rate variation, pulmonary calculation, and the blood viscosity. So you just attempt it. So if you attempt this, right? If you attempt this, the three element Windkessel model includes an additional component compared to the two element model. What is it? Option A is blood viscosity, option B is characteristic resistance R naught, option C is heart rate variation, and the option D is pulmonary circulations, right? So if you see B option C is saying, and yes, B option is the correct answer. As you see this in the three model, we have considered this additional characteristic resistance, and for what it accounts for, this is for the proximal resistance, which is before blood enters the arteries there will be some resistance till the perfectly this fully developed flow actually setups. Before that there is some resistances associated, and that resistance has been considered in terms of this R naught that we are saying as uh, this characteristic resistance. Okay, so option B is correct answer. So now the next problem is, uh, let me just take those questions one side. So let's see if I can put it here. So if you see this one, what does the four Windkessel model introduces that makes the physiologically accurate? Okay, and what do you mean by physiologically accurate? So that is another question. Option, so you just please attempt, you just try. So Vicky is saying B. Okay, so Vicky is saying B. Please B 739. Ma'am is saying C, right? B C. There is this. So what does the four Wilkinson model? And anybody, what is this physiologically accurate? We will be coming to the answers soon. So four element Wilkinson model, if you see, you just look at this. It provides the inertance L to account for the inertia of the moving blood, right? And then this provides the most physiological representation, but is more complex. Okay, so so let's see. Okay, so this physiological representation that I am asking is what? In case of blood, what I am saying. So if you see this, let me just put it here. If I can put it, yes, in this one, rather in this one only. You attempt the fifth question till that. I will be actually coming to that. This one you said, somebody said C, somebody inertance L account for the blood inertia. So this, what does this do this? So this is B option is correct one. Who said B option? I think Vicky said or ma'am said C. So Vicky said. So B option is correct one, and we can see that here also for this fourth question option B is correct. And if you see this, uh, in this one what I said, this what do you mean by more physiologically accurate? So the more physiologically accurate is just that a physiological representation of blood is what? it refers to how blood is modeled or how it is described in terms of biological and physical properties. Like both, if blood is there, you are actually giving both biological and physical properties. Actually, you are able to predict, right? So what these properties actually includes, these properties actually includes the composition, right? The blood, what the blood is made up of, right? Plasma, cellular components, for example, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, right? So its composition, and another one is its rheology, the behavior of the blood, whether it is non-Newtonian behaving or what, its viscosity changes and the different flow conditions, like that. And oxygen and nutrition transport also comes, O2 and nutrition transport, right? Blood circulations, immunological functions, and also this coagulation and healing, because that is very important in order to heal the muscles or tissues, right? So in computational model, for example, if you use some softwares for solving this fluid dynamical model, especially in case of artery system or the blood modeling, blood is sometimes represented as either a Newtonian or the non-Newtonian fluid, depending upon the application, right? So what I'm saying is physiologically accurate means you are able to predict everything, almost very much things. So four element when Kessel model is much closer to this real scenario, but it is a bit complex. So the fifth question, if somebody attempted, let me just see. Fifth question, 741 C, nobody. So fifth question is, this Wind-Kessel model is mainly used to explain heart muscle contraction, pulmonary circulation, the arterial blood pressure waveform, and then venous blood flow. If so, you are saying C is correct. So let's see the arterial blood pressure waveform. So it's correct answer then. Arterial. So C is correct. C is correct, right? So now these are some questions for you to actually go through. I will be just dictating once. So with these will be actually recorded. So some questions I am keeping for you to actually go through at later stage. These slides will be shared and I will be actually dictating. So answers are given over here. So the Wind-Kessel model describes the continuous flow of the blood in the arteries despite the bloods are pulsatile pumping. So is it true? So so this one is true, right? And if you see, let me just keep it like that so that it becomes easy, right? So I will be actually asking you to solve, then it will be easy. Anyway, you will not remember all the answers. Okay, so you just solve it. For first one, what do you think? So the model describes the continuous flow of the blood in the artery despite the heart's pulsatile pumping. Is it true? So in the heart we know that there is this pulsatility associated, right? Whether the pulsatility is considered by this Wind-Kessel model or not, and if it is not considered with this Wind-Kessel model, which model we have used that has considered it? Rather, which solution? So you see, so which solution? Like in the pulsatile flow lecture, if you remember, there was two lecture for the pulsatile flow, the last lecture of the third week and the first lecture of the fourth week. There this complete solution. For example, in the pipe flow, we have this uh, Reynolds number that actually says the its value actually tells you about the competitive behavior. So I will be actually coming to that. So first you solve this so that we complete it with Kessel model, and then I will be dictating that. So this one is true or false. So This one is true, right? So it doesn't consider this pulsatility. Okay, so this model assumes this there is the continuous flow of the blood in the artery. Okay. But in reality we know that there is this pulsatility associated which is time dependent, so there will be this forward velocity profile coming, and sometimes there will be this backward velocity profile coming. For that we have already solved during this Mercalli solution, where we have solved for this high alpha, low alpha and intermediate alpha, right? The two element Windkessel model considers the effect of wave reflection in arteries. Anyone? True or false? So if you see, I will be actually dictating first because very less time is left now. So this is false, that here the effect of the wave reflection is not considered. Another one is this peripheral resistance R is the Windkessel model represent the opposition to the blood flow by vascular system. Is it? This is true, that we have already seen. So this last question was similar to that here, right? So the another one is this three model, less accurate than the two model, is describing arterial pressure. So if you see this one is false. It is more. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the fourth one was my best one. So it's like here you have inertia of the blood is considered this two. So everything we have discussed, and these were more like straightforward questions. So now what I was saying is the very important thing is, for example, for this pipe flow, right? For the pipe flow, and suppose there is this, if I say this is artery, this is pipe flow, which is this rigid pipe flow, and this is artery, which is flexible tubes, right? So for this one there is a dimensionless less number that describes it. So what is that number? So can you prompt me which dimensionless number is used to describe mostly the flow of any fluid in this pipe flow, and how that dimensionless number changed when we have considered these flexible tubes or the vessels, blood vessels, artery or vein. So true, ma'am said true. I think which problems he said. So answers are there, ma'am. You please go through that. So that was like a small questions about that. Obviously, the model has been explained in the class, and we will be having some numerical type discussions on the same in upcoming questions. So if you see this one, so you just attempt this one. This one is more interesting, like which dimensionless number we use mostly for this one. That is like one hint is most often used dimensionless number if you are going for the fluid mechanics. Anyone please attempt? If I see it is going well. Yes, so if you see this, I think Reynolds number, if somebody given the answer or not. Wormersley number, right? It's Wormersley number. Wormersley, right? So if you see this, for the pipe flow, we go for this Reynolds number. And what is this Reynolds number? Reynolds number, we write it as RE. This is what? Inertia forces to viscous forces, right? And if you see in this one, this is Wormersley number. Homogeneity number. What it says, this is transient inertia forces, inertial forces to the viscous forces, and you write it at laser scale as A is the diameter under root of omega by nu. Nu is this kinematic viscosity, right? So, and here you are saying it is rho vd, rho va, density time velocity into radius by mu, right? So if you see this, this is no way different than that. So if you are actually going for this blood vessel modeling, right? So if I say, if we are actually going for this blood vessel modeling, in that case, these blood vessels are actually explained in terms of this von Wiesley number, which is nothing but the Reynolds number for the cardiovascular flows, right? So von Wiesley number is similar to the Reynolds number for the cardiovascular flow. And here, as you remember, or as you know, that you have considered this Fourier Fourier kind of formulation for this dependence of the time dependent of the velocity and the pressure gradient. Because of that, this omega terms comes up, uh, which actually considers or takes care of the pulsatility associated with that. So for this high von Wiesley number, low von Wiesley number, and this uh, intermediate von Wiesley number, there has been separate solutions for the pressure gradient and the velocity, and also we have, I think, derived for the shear stress distribution within the walls of this blood vessel. So what I am saying is this, that was in the third week, I think, or the second week. But that the everything whatever we have discussed till now in each week, there will be revision in the next upcoming extra class for the same problem solving. I will be taking extra class where I will be actually going through that. Obviously I have to be very fast, but that will be recap of everything, entire content that has been taught in the class through the quizzes and questions we will be actually going through. So next lecture will be of great importance if you want to just recap everything, and that will be actually definitely similar problems will be coming in the examinations, right? So this is the one thing that I wanted to say. So the next problem is, there is difference between this flexible and elastic tube, right? Because elastic tubes are the one which strictly follow Hooke's law, which is not necessarily true for the blood vessels, right? So is this true or false? So I am saying this is true, this is false. So option A is true, option B is false. So anybody? There is difference between flexible and elastic tube, because elastic tubes are the one which strictly follow Hooke's law, which is not necessarily true for the blood vessels. So is it true or false? So let me just put that screen also here, so that at the same time we are actually looking for questions as well as I can actually see your comments, right? So let me just put it here. Yes, just comment part I want to see. It's the maximum that can be reduced, right? I hope you are able to. So you see, ma'am is saying true, it's true, right? So there is this difference between flexible and the elastic tubes, because elastic tubes are one which strictly follow this uh, Hooke's law, which is not necessarily true for this blood vessels. This is true. You are correct. So this one is true. This statement was, I think, that has been made in the last lecture at very early stage, right? If you see this one, that where this analysis started, this Wilkinson's model. Before that, this we understand that there has to be this elasticity consideration during solving. So flexibility and elasticity, these two things are different. So if it is elastic under the limit of Hooke's law, where this stress is directly proportional to strain. So Hooke's law limit is what? When you are stretching something and you are leaving it, it again regains or gets back to its initial configuration. So that you will be actually saying that there this Hooke's law is strictly followed, right? But if it's not true, if the initial configuration is deviated a bit, then in that case this need not to be true, right? And in that case you have to be actually considering some other aspects also based on this things. So the next question is A is correct, right? The next question is, so let me just take some questions which is a bit engaging, right? This one. So I will be actually first, this is a bit theoretical one. What are the assumptions taken while solving steady laminar flow in the elastic tube? So you have considered that your tube is elastic, right? And if your tube is elastic, means this it's actually following this Hooke's law. So in that case, you have made some assumptions. So this is like multiple correct questions. So what are those assumptions? Which assumptions are true or which assumption is false? So anybody. So this can be like there can be two options correct. So please attempt. What are the assumptions taken while solving steady laminar flow in elastic tubes? Option A is laminar and the slender tube. Option B is laminar, long and slender tube. Option B is laminar and steady flow. Option C is neglect, entrance and exit effects. And option D is tube shape remains smooth and slender after deformation. And the last option is here you are actually approximating it to be this Poiseuille flow. So that approximation is true here also. Anyone, please? So A, B, C, D, E. 5 options are there. So which option is correct? So I am saying more than one option could be correct. So not only one option you have to say. If there is this 4 options correct, that could also be the case. Because I am asking here, what are the assumptions? So all the assumptions you have to actually look at. So you are free to reattempt and modify your answers, whatever you have put in on the desk, right? So so in this one, if you see this, the we just make him in. So Srilata is saying B and E. So B is correct, laminar and steady flow. And then E is also correct, which is Poiseuille flow is good approximation, right? And it neglects the entrance length and all. Okay. So what I'm saying is in this one, if you closely look at and you revisit the content that has been taught by the sir, all the options are correct. So it's like A, B, C, D, E. All the options are correct. So answers are, if I put the answer over here, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, all are correct. So you just revisit it and then you will actually come to know the same, right? So what are the steps for solving steady laminar flow in elastic tube? So maybe this I have to actually explain. So what I'm saying is, if a tube is there, right? If a tube is there and this is rigid tube, so how you actually solve this? If steady laminar flow is happening in a rigid tube, then how you actually solve that? You you do the force balance, right? And you go to get this velocity profile, okay? And then you go to find this shear stress profile, right? For this. And what if this is elastic tube? How you are going to solve this same? So what will be the steps? The steps I am asking, what are those steps which will be used in order to solve the steady laminar flow in elastic tubes, right? So what are the basic steps that has been used for actually solving this particular problem, right? So if you remember this, so here in the elastic case, you have to consider two things. One is this flow. So flow is happening, that has to be considered very, and at the same time, there will be this fluctuation or deformation of the wall. So how the deformation of the wall will be getting coupled, or which property of the flow will be related to the fluctuation of the wall or the deformation of the wall or the flexibility or the change in position of the wall, that has to be actually looked into. So what I am saying is this steps I am just explaining. So in this case, how that coupling happens. So in this one, you know that consider the tube. If the tube is rigid with the and wall is like this parallel, you are going to calculate the pressure distribution for the given flow. So you, for the given flow, you are going to calculate this P or del P by del S, right? And based on that, you actually go for solving velocity profile and the tau. But if the same scenario, if you are actually going to solve this for elastic tubes, for steady laminar flow in elastic tube, right? So in this one, if you remember, I will be just putting it in small forms. So first was, you have to consider that tube is rigid and there is it is having a specified wall shape. So you have to consider rigid tube, right? Rigid tube and specified wall shape, right? You first assume this one, right? And then what you did, you actually calculated pressure distribution. So let me just put it like this. I will be just putting it as PZ, right? Pressure distribution and like pressure distribution for flow rate, right? And then third is, you have to now consider the tube to be elastic and calculate deformation. So you have to consider tube elastic and calculate deformation, right? And once you calculated that, you have to solve for the tube shape. So now you know deformation, you are knowing, you can determine the tube wall shape, right? Tube wall shape, right? And now if you, this tube wall shape is determined based on this third step, right? And once this is done, what you have to do is, you have to go for the fifth step, and it says that now you have to check that from the beginning, whatever shape was there, has this wall shape changed? If yes, go to the step 1, right? Otherwise you have to go to the step 6, which is this final step. Here you are saying that final solution has been obtained. So final solution you got, right? So here you have to see that if shape changed, you go to 6, and if it is unchanged, you have to go to consider the another initial condition, and then go to the first step and do all the steps again. So that was the overall coupling that is actually used. So you are actually solving both the problems separately. So separately you are going to solve, and then in meanwhile you are connecting. So first you are solving for the flow, for the viscous flows, whatever flows is happening in the pipe, the rigid tube that has been considered, and later you have introduced this flexibility associated with that, based using this elastic tube consideration, and that is again coupled in various steps associated, right? So the next question which is there, you look at is this one is, which of the following is true for hoop stress in thin elastic tubes, right? So this particular picture actually dictates the same. If you see this, the hoop stress, that explanation was there in the first week also, the first week of the lecture. I will be explaining the same again. So if you see this, which of the following is true for the hoop stress in thin elastic tubes? So here the elastic tube is like this. So you are able to see this particular tube is having the thickness, if you say, this is having thickness h, right? And this particular thickness h tube is having this its lateral extension to be dx. So I have considered the coordinate to be x horizontal, y vertical, and within the screen there is this x direction, dx, right? So here if you see this, internal pressure is p, obviously the external pressure we have assumed to be 0, so that we are actually only looking at the flow is happening inside the tube, and because of that there is some inherent pressure associated, and that is actually stop keeping the tube to be filled one, not the collapsed one, right? And these are the hoop stresses which is acting at the wall. So this is a subsection of the thin wall that has been taken into the consideration, and the options that is there is this. Option A is for this particular hoop stress in this thin wall. Let me just make him in. So he joined again. Yes. So let me just see. Yes. So I can see the comments together with the. Now I can see. So if you see the option A is uh, if you see, let me just put both the slides together if I can keep it. No, I can't keep it. If it can happen, two slides together can't be kept, right? Okay, so let's see. Yes, so here the thickness is very smaller than A. A is the radius. You see in this diagram, A is the radius. The option A is thickness is very small as compared to the radius. Option B is hoop stress is same as the circumferential stress. Option C is the balance that I am talking about, whether this balance is correct or not. And option D is you see this sigma equals to px h divided by ax. Here this is this spatial radius, and this one is this the spatial pressure, which is different at different x location, and then this is the thickness of the tube, and the last is another balance. So which of the following is correct? Again, in this particular question more than one option could be correct answer. So let me just put this diagram over there so that you can look at the scenario together with this uh, diagram, right? So let me just put that over there. So I will be just taking that in this one. So this is the diagram, and which of the following is correct? So more than one option can be correct, so please attempt this. So Sri is saying this C is correct, right? So more than one option could be correct. So you actually attempt accordingly. You are just looking at one option, because I think in the exams also more, if you are solving question where these multiple options are correct, you have to be more cautious while solving, because like maybe you choose one correct option, but you left many other correct options, right? So you are saying C and D, right? C is this. So which of the following is true? I'm saying. So sigma is this hoop stress equals to px h by ax, right? And then this pa. So if you solve C option and E option, you see in the C option that dx will be actually cancelling out, right? This dx will be actually cancelling out, and also this dx will be actually cancelling out, and then this is 2 will be cancelling out, dx will be cancelling out. You are left with the same thing, which is the option E. So option C and E is obviously correct, right? And based on that, if you see sigma, what you are getting, if you solve it from this particular option here, so you are getting that sigma equals to P into A by H, right? So if you are saying that C option is right, the D option cannot be correct, because in this position, yes, in this position there has to be this AX, and H will be in the denominator. H is here, A is here. In this one it is opposite, so this one is incorrect, right? So option this is incorrect, C is correct, and D is correct now. And here you see we have told that this one is what? This one is thin elastic tube. So if it is thin, that condition will be satisfied, that H is less than A. So option A is also correct. And hoop stress is also known as circumferential stress. This thing was explained in the lecture second or third, basic introduction to solid mechanics, third lecture. So B is also correct. So for this particular one, A, B, C, and E is correct, right? So A, B, C, and E is correct. So be very careful while solving these questions. That's why I have kept multiple choice questions, because like 2 or 3 questions are within the same frame, right? So if you see this one, okay, so this one is right. Now we will be moving. So very few questions I am left with. So I will be slow a bit, or I will be actually more keeping the lectures discussion from now more interactive. So yes, so this one, if you want to solve this, let me just put it here. Yes, okay, if I can keep it right side. Yes, it came here. So I will be maximizing it. So which of the following expression is correct for steady laminar flow in the elastic tube? So the options are in front of you. So these are the basic numerical type discussions that was there. So why I have kept it? Because like these are, apart from the theoretical question, these equation, basic formula type question, or these balances, the basic knowledge of, I am just not only keeping the final expressions, I am actually keeping sometimes the balances from where the entire expression and the discussion is coming into the picture. If you see in the last example here, I have also considered this to be this uh, I have also considered this to be this balance from where the derivation came into the picture. So in this one, if you see this P into 2A into dx, what is that? P is the pressure and 2A, A is the radius. So this will be 2A, and dx is the height in the x direction. So 2A is in the z direction, height is in the x direction, and if you multiply that 2A into dx, uh, then it gives the pressure acting in the projected area, and that is being balanced by this hoop stress. So that is actually acting where? In this thin portion, which is the h into the dx, right? So h into the dx into sigma, and it is acting in two directions. So here also and in this side also. So that's why this 2 is coming into the picture. So the balance is also there. So that balances are also important while actually solving these. So you look at this, which of the following expression is correct for the steady laminar flow in the elastic tube. So here E is this. If you see change in length upon the original length, what is that? This is strain, right? And you remember this AX. AX is what? As the wall is elastic, it will deform. So locally there will be change in the radius, right? It is not like the standard rigid wall Poiseuille flow that we used to solve, right? So because of that, there will be this AX, which is the function of the position that I am saying is comes into the picture. Okay, so let me just put it here. Yes. So you just solve this. So any options you have attempted? Anyone please attempt? Admit. Yes. So you just attempt this. So this 3 is saying B is correct. So B AX divided by E naught 1 minus E naught PX divided by this elasticity modulus multiplied the thickness. So you are not sure. No problem. So these questions are just to tell you that these are also important. So you actually look at these things while these are mostly the final expressions which comes after the discussion. But the basic assumptions based around this, and also uh, some basic. So sometimes there can be some questions like the positional radius, the dynamic radius in the case of steady laminar flow in the elastic tube depends on the thickness of this. So like that you will see the question. It depends on the thickness of the wall. It does not depend on the thickness of the wall. It depends on the pressure inside. It depends on the radius. So like that you will be getting some questions. Okay, so that's why these dependencies you have to be actually knowing. So this expression, you know that this one is correct. In the last question we solved it, right? And this one will be obviously correct because if this is the tube, okay, and initially you had the radius to be a naught, right? And if this deforms, okay, so you are saying this radius is ax, right? And there is this ax minus a naught, ax minus a naught divided by initial a naught. This is the strain that you are talking about, and this is that strain, okay? And through the last problem that we considered this hoop stress dx and then this thickness as there we solved that this hoop stress is equals to px ax divided by h, right? So this px ax divided by h, okay, and now you know that this strain equals to stress divided by modulus of elasticity, right? Now you see, if you put this sigma to be here, then you are going to get this term. So which is px ax divided by eh, right? So this is nothing but the same as this one, right? And moduli is here, and this is being equated to E, and E is this one. So in this case also A, B, C, and D, all the options are correct, right? So these things are there. So if I can actually you look at I think in the last lecture it is there Wind Kessel model also, and before that this elastic tubes, the discussions on elastic tube where this actual closest scenario of the blood vessel has been considered. So there if you see this strain stress and how that stress depend on the dynamic radii and also this pressure and the thickness of the tube. So thickness of the tube has very strong relation to the hoop stress, and hoop stress is anyway being related to this this deformation. Deformation means this one, the strain. And these hoop stress and these deformations are related to the pressure Px, and this pressure is actually there in the flow. The flow is actually controlling the pressure. So this pressure is related to the volumetric flow rate or the flow rate of the pipe, and these things in our case we have considered to be depending on this what I said. This we have told that this pressure is depending on the volumetric flow rate. So volumetric flow rate is actually fixing up the pressure, and then this pressure is depending on this deformation, and the deformation is also related to this hoop stress. So entire thing is getting coupled. So in parallel, in order to solve the steady laminar flow in the elastic tubes, we are actually looking at two things. The first thing is this, the deformation, which is the one thing, and another one is this, the hoop stress. These are the solid mechanics part, which is again coupled to the pressure, which was the function of the time. Obviously the velocity was the function of the time in the pulsatile case. So everything got coupled, and now you are able to say that how the tube deformation is leading to the flow, or how the flow is leading to the tube deformation, right? So this was it for this particular question. So the next question that I am going to put is like that only. See, I will be just explaining it. So what I am saying is, this seems to be difficult, but this is not difficult at all. If you see that, what I am saying is, this was the rigid tube, right? Okay. Suppose here also you consider the tube, right? Step 1 that I told. Then you, in the third step, you consider that the tube is elastic. So once you consider the tube is elastic, let me just put it like that. Let me just use another color. Okay. So if the tube is elastic, there will be these deformations coming up, right? Okay. So initially, if this is A naught, suppose from the base this is A naught, and after the deformation this became AX. So easily you can say how the deformation is happening. We are considering this deformation in terms of radii. So this strain is change in radii. So suppose it is increased one, it may decrease, divided by initial radii. Okay, divided by, and this is getting this deformation is happening because of what? Because of the pressure which is inside. Again, this pressure is changing at different locations. So here we are saying this, at X it is changing. It can also change based on time. So transient response in the wind cancel model, we have considered this pressure to be function of time. Mostly whatever profile in ECGs, if some patient is having some cardiovascular problem, first doctor will prescribe them to do ECG, and in the ECG what they are actually looking for, they are actually looking to at the pressure fluctuation with the time, and also the flow of the blood, flow rate of the blood fluctuation with the time. So Q versus time and the P versus time they are actually getting, and based on that they are actually going to predict. So it is entirely the transient problem, at the same time keeping this elasticity of the wall inherent, so that some closer analysis can be done. So if you see this one here, what I am saying is this radius, which is because of this elasticity, the fluctuated radius, it depends on what? The initial radius, and you see it is depending on what? This pressure, thickness of the wall, and then Young moduli, right? So entire solid mechanics, fluid mechanics is actually together dictating the deformed interface, deformed radii, right? And if you see that here, this del px by dx equals to minus 8 mu q by pi a 04. This is the standard for the rigid pipes. If you keep here only a to the power 4, okay, this one is what? Ax to the power 4. At the denominator, ax to the power 4. This is nothing but ax to the power 4, right? And this one is this Pauli equation, and in the Pauli equation just you kept what the radii, what is that, which is the deformed radii, which is actually taken care of. So the coupling is happening in the radii, right? And we are saying that that radii depend on the pressure and the solid mechanical parameters, which actually dictates the property of the wall. Okay, and obviously in this case whatever values we are considering about this rigidity or the flexibility of the wall, that is actually depending on this you know this flexibility of the wall. These are all things are depending on uh, these are average, but in reality we know that our blood vessels are stack up tissues like epithelial cell, endothelial cells, and fibrils, lots of different proteins, uh, they are there, and they are actually making that wall. uh, fibronectin is another thing that is there, and because whatever property our blood vessel is having, those are dynamic based on our nutrition, based on our food, our habits, our way of life, it changes. In all these calculations, whatever properties we are actually considering, they are the average property, just to have some knowledge. So in this one, in the plane possibly, if you put the dynamic radii and you solve it under the limit from where 1 minus, so you said that initially you had this p0, initially you has the p0 pressure, and then you are having this pl pressure, right, for the given length l, that length. Okay, so if you solve that, then you will be getting this. This is not that difficult, but this conversion relation, which actually tells you about the profile of the blood vessels, and also gives you the average flow rate, right? The main volumetric flow rate, and how it is depending on the viscosity and everything, right? Obviously this solution that you are looking at, if you we want to club it with the Wormersley solution, that was for this low Wormersley number. In that case the viscous effects were there, that's why this Pauli consideration is true, right? So that can also be related. So the next problem that is there is this one: what will be the final relation? Okay, what will be the final relation? Let me just expand it a bit. What will be the final relation between the flow rate q and the radii a? It's radii, it's not diameter. Let me just correct it. It's I'm not able to correct it, right? It's I will be writing over this. Let me just change the color. Yes. So it's radii. So if the linear relation between the ax px is assumed, if you are considering ax px, in this one it was not linear. In the last problem that I was discussing here, if you see, this is not linear. In this one ax is depending on px, but it's -1. So this one is not linear. This is not linear relation. If you consider that to be linear, then what, which options are correct? Anyone please attempt it. So these are a bit mathematical. You please look at these. Along with that, you please solve these questions. While solving, you again look at the slides that has been said by sir, and definitely you will be actually transcripts. What I'm saying, you will be actually getting what are the positions where you have to actually focus more, right? So you look at this. What will be the final relation between the flow rate Q and A radii if the linear relation between the AX and PX is assumed. Option A is AX equals to A naught plus alpha 2. So this is the relation that I'm saying. If the linear relation is there, whether this A option is correct, the relation will be in the form of this. This is alpha by 2 PX, right? And then B option is this integral. At the length L, you are keeping the A to be AL and A naught, and you are solving this integral. And finally, you are getting a solution, which is over here, right? What I am saying, let me just put it. So anybody please attempt. Very few questions are remaining. I think 3 to 4 questions. Very interesting question we will be solving, and then we will be ending this session. And you are welcome to ask questions. Keep your question in the next week also. I will be taking the final class, like that will be closing up or looking at assignments all the assignments given to you, and all the quizzes and questions that we solved in these problem solving sessions, right? So look at this. So anyone please attempt, then I will be going to solve it. You can try. Maybe you will not be correct, but at least if when you will be trying, then you will be knowing that this question you made wrong. And Sri is saying A is correct. AX, right? It is correct. No problem. Then you see this seems very difficult, but when you look at everything is coming from the plane paucity, just right and left here and there. You are actually rearranging the expressions. Okay. So in this one also all the options are correct, right? And this was there where the last question we were discussing about this derivation, right? The one that we discussed, this one. In this one, this has been again solved in the limit when this relation is linear, right? And in the linear dependence scenario, when you have considered this AX to be function of this, in that case, at the same place, this is AX now, at the same place in this one, right? In this one here, if you put this, that one, and you rearrange and solve PX and everything, you are going to get this particular final expression, right? And that will be actually dictating the flow. Okay, so assumptions for pulsatile flow in the elastic tube. Any assumptions that you remember for the pulsatile flow in the elastic tube? What are the assumptions that you have considered? Anyone? For the pulsatile flow in an elastic tube, what are the assumptions that you have made? So this one is theoretical one. I will be again putting it in front of you, but you just attempt whatever you remember. You just write it down. Attempting is better than anything. You just keep attempting, solve as much as possible. Then you will be actually getting to know that yes, in this slide or in this particular concept, these are the few things that has to be actually looked at very carefully, right? So A assumptions for the pulsatile flow. Anyone please attempt? Pulsatile elastic tube. What I'm saying, pulsatile elastic tube, right? We will be actually looking at that velocity profile based question also. So there is two good questions that we will be discussing soon. So assumption for the pulsatile flow in the elastic tube. Is attempt non-Newtonian, it's Newtonian incompressible. Yes, it is correct. Both are correct one. Apart from that, anything else? Anything else? Laminar flow, right? So you just see pulsatile flow. I'm saying. So if you are saying pulsatile flow, then can you say laminar flow? So yes, laminar flow. Other than that, laminar flow. So pulsatile flow in the elastic tube, we are saying. So elasticity means you have considered this AX and everything, right? So, so this particular thing you look at the yes pressure gradient is periodic. Okay, I omega. Yes, that one is this. That is the main assumption that you just said. This one is correct one, right? So these are the assumptions that was there, and also there are few this you have considered this time dependencies also in case of pulsatility, right? So the flow and the pressure gradients are pulsatile. They are depending on the time. It depends on the time, and also this steady. So in this one, you haven't considered steady because you are considering pulsatile, elastic. So I think in the elastic case, this time dependence you haven't considered. So you have solved it separately, right? Clubbing that together is the another thing that could be looked at, but this mostly in these lectures whatever you have solved was is more analytical side, like you was not using some numerical computational softwares. That's why this questions that has been solved, they have been dealt in some limits, right? So that is correct one. Okay, so now the questions that is there is, let's see this one. So look at this particular diagram. It's the velocity versus time, and you are having this 0 to 100, the velocity, and this time is there, and there is some curve. So based on that, there is some other options given over there, right? There is these two options given. So A is accelerating flow is more stable than the steady flow at given Reynolds number, and option B is this transition Reynolds number for accelerating flow is high. So you have to say which one is true, which one is false. Like this one is true or false. This one is true or false. So you say this question A is true, B is false. Like that you have to say answer. I will be just marking that like that. So please solve this. So if you see the last question that you said, in this one, whatever solution you have solved, what you have solved is you solved this laminar flow in what? In flexible. So let me just reconnect it. What I say, I have lost my connection. Let me just reconnect it. Let me just reconnect it. Okay, so I will be again connecting it. Again connecting it. And okay, sorry, there was some trouble. Yes, so yes, let me again present my slides. Entire screen. Yes, right. Now, yes. So this is this discussion that we were having. Uh, Laminar flow in what? In flexible tubes, steady tubes. Flexible tube. Okay. And then steady tubes, we can say. And another one question that we have solved is this pulsatile flow of an inviscid. Inviscid means mu is 0. There is no viscosity. Fluid in a flexible tube, right? Where this pulse speed came into the picture. So these two things you assume. So you consider those assumptions that she was pointing out, but you look at the assumptions very carefully. What assumptions and under what assumptions the question is being solved, right? So this is the question that I am saying. You please look at this, and let me just see if I can squeeze this down and I can see the comments. Yes. So see, this is Q 100 question in this velocities y-axis and x-axis time. So two comments has been made based on the graph above. Accelerating flow is more stable than the uh, steady flow at the given Reynolds number, and then this you see this transition Reynolds number for accelerating flow is high. So which of the following is correct? And obviously this is for this steady uh, flow in elastic tubes. So pulsatile flow is happening over there. So this concept has been explained thoroughly when the sir was teaching you about whether this, if the flow is pulsatile, whether this will be turbulent, or what is the turbulent flow, whether in the turbulent flow can a laminar flow can be turbulent, so like that. So these questions where the sir was mostly explaining you about the misconceptions associated with these things. So in that case, if you remember, I will be actually pointing that slide again here, then it will be good. So you just attempt this. A, is it true or false? After that, there is like 2 or 3 questions remaining, right? So this one is true. I am saying you just look at this. Time is less. So this one is true and this one is. So what I'm saying is, if you see accelerating flow is more stable. If a flow is accelerating, right, means velocity will be increasing. Flow is accelerating. You are accelerating. The velocity is you are breathing very fast, like. So in that case, if you are breathing very fast, maybe because of some strenuous activity that you did, this velocity is high, right? So it's accelerating situation and the velocity is raising. You see that when the velocity is rising, in that case, if it's accelerating, is more stable than the. So this line that is there at 2300, you remember, if the pipe is there, in that if flow is happening. So for this particular Reynolds number, you see this, you are having velocity. So for this accelerating and decelerating, in that both velocity is decreasing, velocity is increasing. You see that for this particular, this is the stability condition, right? And the same, if accelerating flow is there, more stable, then yes, if it is accelerating, you may be having these points here. Okay, so so at a given Reynolds number, if the Reynolds number is fixed, obviously this accelerating flow will be having more stability, right? And the next option, if you see this, transition Reynolds number for accelerating flow is high. So so where this transition is happening, if you see that uh, the transition is if you see here, this transition is happening. If it is accelerating, velocity will be increasing with time. uh, in that case, there will be longer duration of time will be taken uh, when these fluctuations are actually coming, because in the accelerating flow the flow is more stable, so the pulsatility or the turbulence or these fluctuations in the velocity or this positional velocity which is coming up, which that takes a bit time, and because of that this this uh, stability comes at the later stage, right? So both of these are true. You again revisit that part of the lecture where this has been made or discussed. So let me just see where that part was. So that will be actually coming handy. Let me just see. I think in this particular week, yes, these were this lectures that I was saying. I will be, yeah, one question I am having on this, so I will be discussing soon. And then on this also I will be discussing soon, right? So these two slides are important, and then so in 10 minutes we will be going. So this I was saying. So in the pulsatile, this became, yes, in the pulsatile, is the pulsatile flow turbulent? So there are some misconceptions. First is laminar flow is always steady. This is common misconception. No, the laminar flow can be unsteady. So this point is important. Then recirculation in the velocity field means that the flow is turbulent. Again, misconception. If there are recirculations, if there are these recirculation of vortices coming up, that doesn't mean that this is turbulent. So in the turbulent, the necessity condition is that whatever length scale or the recirculations are there, the length scale of those recirculations will be changing with the time, right? Those length scale are changing, but in the laminar case that will not be changing. And again, whatever length scales are there, that will be higher than the Kolmogorov length scale, which is the length scale associated with this mean turbulence, right? And so how is the turbulent flow characterized then? So you say that there is this random fluctuation in the flow velocity, and then this velocity cannot be predicted with absolute precision. Rather, there is this statistical features which well defines them, right? And also you see that in this particular one, you saw that this was this Reynolds experiment. There is nothing very smooth. If you increase the Reynolds number, which is rho vd by mu, there is some, the troubles are coming, and later these troubles are coming very fast, and in the later stage also there is some region where the laminar flow is there. Okay, so because of that you had this particular thing. So here, if you remember, there was this you might see that here, that as the velocity grows and the flow remains laminar for the sufficiently high Reynolds number before it becomes turbulent, that means that before the fluctuation in the velocity becomes random. What does this suggest? That in accelerating flow, where the velocity of the flow is growing, because it takes some time for the fluctuation or the eddies to grow or the turbulence to set up in the accelerating flow in more stable, right? Then the steady state flow at the corresponding Reynolds number, that the point was that I said true. So the transition Reynolds number for the accelerating flow where the flow velocity is increasing is higher. So that was the main point. So this entire line, that will be the main snatch for the particular question that we were actually looking at. So let me just put it here, right? So if you are there, let me see. So yes, it is. Yes. So this was the question. The next problem is Vomersley number. So this is very easy question. So which of the following is true? A or B? Vomersley number is A, B. Please attempt. B, its transient inertial force to the viscous force. B. Why not A? What I'm saying, it is not Reynolds number. It is transient Reynolds number. You understand that? And the one slide also I have explained that. The slide that was there, uh, where I explained it. Uh, One slide, I think today only we explained that. No, yeah, this one. I will be taking that here. Okay. So you remember this pipe flow and the flexible tubes we considered. Here I said this is for Reynolds number, and same number is there in the. So we call it Vomersley number. And this Vomersley number is having these transient inertial forces to the viscous forces, and this is A is also right. Yes. So both are correct. You are correct. So both are correct answers. So A and B both are correct. Right? B. Good. Both are true. Now we are going to solve the next problem, that is, okay, I will keep it here. That is this one. Which of the following is true for this Vomersley number? So you are having A, B, C, and D, four options. So which of the following is true in regards to the Vomersley number? So maybe you in order to solve this, you need to know some length scale about this aorta or capillary. So aorta is high, capillary is low, or capillary is high. The radius of capillaries are high, or the aorta is high. That thing you need to know, and then this B and A options are there. So you just please attempt this. 855. You just attempted it, right? You just please attempt. A and D is there, and then BC. So it's like B and D is saying. Okay. So you are saying B is correct, and you are saying D is correct, right? What about ABD, right? Vicky is saying ABD. So yes, ABD is correct answer. And as I am having less time, so I will be like moving fast. A, B, and D is correct, right? Good. This was multiple. So this you remember. This alpha is what? Alpha is what? A under root of omega by nu, right? Nu is what? Mu by rho. And also this cap. Based on that, there was one discussion in the class. Let me show that there was this discussion where you have been told that this numbers are very important. So if you see this in the lecture where this comparison has been made, so let me just put it a bit bigger size. Yes, here you see uh, in the case of aorta, you had this diameter of the aorta to be 2.5 mm, right? And for the arteries, you had this 5 micron, right? So typically for the aorta, you calculated that this Vomersley number, which is the transient Reynolds number, to be 18. And in the case of capillary, you got that this to be 7 into 10 to the power minus 5. It's like 10 to the power minus 2, which is 0.01, which is very small, right? So it's like tens of hundreds of thousands of order smaller than the aorta one. So if you see this, so alpha capillary is less than this. So that's why that is correct, and rest you only solve it, right? So this is the problem. And then the next one is this one, which says about this particular curve. There are some comments that I have made, and I want you to look at those comments, and then like in parallel you have to solve. So I will be keeping it like that. Yes. So how I can keep it together? Yes. So you look at these curves. So what this curve says is, let me just expand it. If you see, okay, in this one, so there is some delay. If you see that this plot is about what? The plot says that it's between R and omega t, right? It's between R, like if you are having tube, then how with the tube distance R, this this R, the velocity profile is changing along omega t, right? And some comments on that. So if you see this one, I am unable to expand it. Okay. So in this one, if you see, if you are actually increasing the value of a Mersley number from 3.34 to 6, right? And you are plotting this pressure gradient versus this cos omega t, and these are the velocity profiles, right? So you are able to see that as this alpha is increasing, you know that this the center velocity is becoming more flatter, and for the lower alpha, this is more parabolic. Again, this for the higher omega t, this central situation is becoming more flatter. Okay. So in this asymptotic limit, these options are there, right? So first option is plot is between position and the omega t, right? For the varying value of this Mersley number. And option B is what? The low Mersley number implies that your velocity profile is what? Parabolic, and that leads to this larger value of what I am saying, the larger gradient at the center. So if you look at the graph, for the lower value of Mersley number, the central position, if you look at, it's like more parabolic. But for what? When you are having a smaller value of omega t, that is another important thing. That actually it comes because of this pulsatility associated with that, and this pulsatility and the omega t, that time dependence is the important reason which creates this adverse pressure gradient. Because of that, there is the back flows within our arteries or the blood vessels, right? So what I'm saying is, based on this particular flow profile, if we see that the option B says that if you are having low alpha, then there will be this mostly parabolic profile, and in that case there will be this large gradient at the center, right? So, and then for for the high alpha, the velocity profile is a flatter that I was talking, and there is this small gradient at the center, right? So anyone please attempt, even you are unable to give actual correct answer, just attempt, then only you will be able to actually correct it. So it's like tricky based on graph. So in the graphical questions will also be made, like in these assignments also, you may have had some graphical questions, and if it is not there, that's why these problem solving sessions are. So you just look at it, and last option, if you see this boundary layer, so you are saying Sri is saying this B is correct. B is what? For the lower value of alpha, this parabolic profile, right? So if you see the lower value of alpha, the parabolic profile, yes, this one is correct. Other than that, so what I'm saying is more than one option can be correct in this one. So not all, you are free to choose more than one option or all option, whatever you expect. Last option is boundary layer thickness decreases with Vomersey number. Vomersey number is nothing but it is similar to the Reynolds number, but the transient Reynolds number, because it is actually considering the effect of transient inertial forces, right? So you see this B and D, right? So you are saying B is correct, D is correct. Good. So what I can say, this these two options are correct. Other than that, what what uh, what your analysis is saying? You just look at the graph. Let me just project that particular screen. You just look at the graph. Towards horizontal direction, this alpha is increasing, and you are having this for different radial locations with the omega t. You are having these different profiles, right? So please look at this, and B and D is correct. So it's like already over 9. Let me just tell you. B and D options are correct, so 3 is correct. But other than that, as I told, for higher alpha, the flatter profile. So what I was saying is, you see now, this is flatter profile. So for high alpha means what? Let's see if alpha is, I cannot write on this. Yes. Yes, if alpha is high, okay, high means what? Transient inertial forces to viscous forces. So means viscous forces are low. So viscous forces are the one important thing in order to build the velocity profile. So whatever velocity profile which comes inside is actually being created by the viscous dissipation term of the Navier-Stokes, right? So if alpha high you are going for, in that case, mostly the transient inertial influences are there, which is coming because of the pulsatility, right? And viscous effects are less. So inertial effects are dominating. In that scenario, you had that the in that Vomersey solution, you had that this velocity profile was only depending on the pressure gradient, which was this plug flow condition. But in reality, it's not completely plug flow. Rather, there is some parabolic kind of thing which actually has been dealt deeper in the intermediate Vomersey number case. In that case, if you see this here, this alpha, which I am saying is flatter than the one where the alpha value was less. In that case, this profile is lower, like it's more flatter for the higher alpha and it's less flatter for the lower alpha. So this was the C option that we were actually looking at. So option C is also correct. And the plot was between this radial location and the omega t. So this was the omega t and this was the radial equation for which you are actually solving it. So you see this, these were the radial locations and these were the alpha. So option A is also correct. So all A, B, C and D is correct answer. Right? Okay, so this was it for this particular lecture, right? And let me just see. I think this screen is freezed. No, this is not freezed. We are live now. So in this one, from the beginning, if you see, we actually looked at the remaining part of the pulsatile flow, and then uh, there is something about systole and diastole. Later you looked at this Wind-Kessel model, some problems on that. We solved some numerical problem or like derivation based problem related to the content of the week, and some some main balances because of which we were able to couple the flow, which is actually the reason for this fluid flow or the blood flow within the capillaries, and how this blood flow is actually dictating the deformability of the wall or the flexibility of the wall, and or the vice versa, like wall flexibility is dictating the flow. So that coupling, this solid mechanics and the fluid mechanics coupling, we saw in detail, and we solved some of the numerical problem on that, right? So this was the complete problem solving session for this particular week. We had some variety of problem, true, false, some MCQ, some MSQ like multiple choice question, or more than one correct question, and then this graphical questions. So this was just tip of berg, like uh, based on these there are different varieties, so you have to look at each graphs, each discussion very carefully, and similar questions you will be getting in your final examination. So you are free to ask anything, and then uh, so you are free to ask, and whatever doubts you are having, you just write that down. In the next session we will be actually summing up everything that we have discussed so far, and we will be discussing the assignments, because till then what I expect, all the assignments will be submitted, and you will be free to actually discuss all the assignments. So that's it. So thank you so much for the today's uh, interaction, and I hope this particular lecture helped you in some sense. Thank you. Any question? Any? Prem, Sri? Thank you so much. If not, and meet you in the next section. Like next session will be in the next week. What I expect, same Friday. Okay, thank you. Thank you.